Um, yeah, no, I think the thought of just a bunch of people down in Texas who aren't prepared for a negative 12 day, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
converts into your guys' temperature as, and like, oh man, that not so much
It
the attire is one thing, but then you think about the people who 95% of the time like don't drive in road conditions like that,
mm-mm.
and like just following behind some people would be comical in the worst of ways, though. In the like, oh my god, this is scary.
It's entertaining to watch other people post videos to Twitter and stuff like that, but my line of work calls me to commute. You know that. Like my line of work will take me into those places where those people are absolutely stupid and have no idea what the hell they're doing. And so it was kind of funny seeing the text from my boss at 7:30 this morning saying like the highways look okay but the street roads are all slicked over. Keep your vehicles in the driveway. He didn't say stay home and stay safe. He was worried about the company cars and being like keep your vehicles home. Not keep yourselves home. Keep your vehicles home. And I'm like, I get it. From a business perspective, I get it. But if that's really your ulterior motive, do you have to say that to your employees, or can you just say, "Stay home and stay safe, guys"? Well, but it is what it is.
For
Either way, I stayed home today. So
whoever is tuning in at the moment, this is an episode of That Fandom Show, and we're doing things a little bit differently tonight. Taking a page out of Zach's book. Actually, I used to listen to him, and I think you guys still record in similar fashion. But I remember back in the 1138 days, like you guys were piecing everything together afterwards, not necessarily in the same order as you guys were recording it for certain episodes, and you bet
mm-hmm.
people could listen to the live recording of it.
Mm-hmm.
Fun,
Mm-hmm.
not something we typically do around here, but we're doing it tonight. We got a lot to talk about tonight, so we will be actually recording content for our Legacy of Westeros channel tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are talking House of the Dragon at the Emmys, and I got a link I can pull up for that. Matt Smith says House of the Dragon season 2 premieres in August, despite earlier reports saying that they were pushing for an earlier release. Millie Alcock testing for Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
A Winds of Winter discussion that I think is warranted, given an image that has started circulating. I think it might have originated at IGN. I'm not sure.
Is it the picture you sent me?
Yeah.
That logo that's on it is Screen Rant.
Is it Screen Rant? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Star Wars, because Zach and I have been on here at the same time in a while. It's pre-holidays, I believe.
Probably, yeah.
And so we'll definitely dive into. There's a lot that's happened in Star Wars, and we'll try to touch on all of it before we leave you tonight. And then if you're still around at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight, I think it's 9:30. Is it 9:30 or 9? Let me check.
Hmm.
I know. I don't know.
I thought maybe you said 9 because you had about 90 minutes to work with for this episode. But I'm good either way.
I know I intended to be off of here by 9 regardless.
Right.
But now I don't remember what time the next show starts, and that's not good because that's a big one. Not this one isn't big, but Dean and I put a lot into this episode.
I see how it is.
YouTube is so finicky.
Low man on the totem pole.
9.
Ooh.
Okay, so 9. Apparently, it is 9 p.m. that we will be doing tonight in Haddonfield.
Whoa! Somebody's ass just appeared over the tower of the Red Keep.
I'm guessing a cat's.
Not unless the cat wears black pajama pants. And a yellow shirt.
I don't know. The cat sometimes jumps up here. But anywho, you sir have been venturing places, and one day you're in one country, and the next day you're in the next.
Yeah.
What's going on there, dude?
Yeah. So The wife had some dental work that needed doing, and if you know anything about the exchange rate, it's just a lot more affordable to do in the country that's about 600 miles to our south. And so um, we took care of that and also saw some relatives that she hasn't gotten to see for a very long time, and then did some sightseeing as well. So we spent a week down in Mexico City, which is one of the biggest cities population wise in the entire world. According to Wikipedia, it is like the fifth largest in the world. And so we got to go see the pyramids that were just outside of Mexico City that were constructed by the Aztecs, and note the Indiana Jones shirt at a pyramid. I thought I was being pretty clever. Had a lot of fun adventuring there just because of the history of it all. Those pyramids in that township that remain have been there for centuries. And so there was just a sense of appreciation and awe with everybody that was there. Other parts of the city were very, very loud and touristy, and this one, it felt a little bit different. And so getting to explore the pyramids and read about the history of the Aztecs in that part of the country was very enlightening. And then we did some other exploring too, but that was definitely a highlight. So we got to visit something that's called the Statue of Independence, and it's almost like their Statue of Liberty. It was a way of like asserting themselves. There's my lovely wife, and it's right in the heart of downtown. And we actually stayed in an Airbnb that was a few blocks away, and so that statue was like a big piece of history for Mexico's independence that she really enjoyed seeing. And there were a lot of tourists there. There were a lot of people that were coming to take pictures and to see what it was about. And there were vendors that were selling food and souvenirs and things. It was like a cultural hub for the weekends, and that was really fun too. So we did that, and then there's a side view of the pyramids. Those things are huge, dude. That is the Pyramid of the Sun, and it heads towards the sun. And then in the next town
area right here,
this is a restaurant. This is a restaurant dug out of a cave that we got to go to in the next town over. It's a little pueblito. I forget what the name of the town is called. Honestly, I forget what the name of the restaurant is called. But we had some really, really amazing and authentic food there. You can see my wife and my sister-in-law over in the left-hand corner taking pictures and videos of the mariachi that was playing some music there during lunchtime. And yeah, you can, when you go during lunchtime, there's obviously not a huge crowd. And so we got to pick our seats, and then they let us go explore and take pictures from different angles and stuff. You can't see it from this picture, but there's like a glass covering, so you're not affected by the weather conditions, but still get to explore or experience the natural sunlight from above. And the food was really, really good. Probably one of the better restaurants that we went to for atmosphere and food, and then having mariachis playing music for us. That was really fun. And then on our last full day, we got to go see what I have since learned is one of the last pandas on this side of the planet. There are no zoos or preserves in South America that have one, and the states are losing their contracts with pandas in their cooperation with the Chinese government. The Smithsonian in D.C. Had to send theirs back last year. The Memphis Zoo had to send theirs back in 2022. So did the San Diego Zoo. I think Atlanta is sending theirs back this first quarter of 2024. And so this panda right here is one of the last pandas on this side of the world. And it's because she was born in Mexico. And so the Mexican government was able to arrange to send her parents back, but keep her there. And so when she passes away, she will be the last panda on this continent or the South American continent. So that was also really cool, because who knows if I'll get to go to Japan or Europe or Australia or someplace like that to go see a panda. And then there was a live penguin experience at the local aquarium. And that's a real penguin. They brought them in for the photos. If you see its head tilting up a little bit like that, it's because it's waiting for a treat that the keeper has just behind the camera. And so We got to pet them, and then there was another part of the experience where a different penguin is trained to give us a quote unquote kiss on the cheek. And so, from everything from the pyramids to the penguins to the pandas to the food, the meeting with family, that was a really great week, and I'm happy to be back. But definitely made a lot of really really cool memories just south of the border.
When I think Mexico, I don't think penguins.
I
Uh,
know, I
so
know. There are some aquariums around here that offer a similar experience, but they are through the roof, like anywhere from 70 to $100 for that type of encounter. Just the encounter, not the tickets as well, just to do the penguin thing. And we got tickets to the aquarium plus the upgraded penguin encounter for the equivalent of $50 a person. And so for $100, we got two penguin experiences and two tickets to their aquarium, which is just unheard of here in the States. So I definitely enjoyed taking advantage of the exchange rate and finding stuff that was, anywhere from $2 to $5. The Uber fares down there, we never paid more than $8 for an Uber from one side of the city to the other. So it was really interesting experiencing that exchange rate, but then also really sad when I had to pay full price for dinner when I got back home.
right. Welcome back to reality, right?
For real, for real. But the food was incredible, and to pay even less for it than what we would at a traditional Mexican restaurant up here was just, it was very eye opening on what people can get by on in another country, and how fortunate and how blessed we are with the type of income that we have here in the States. And so definitely learned a lot about the culture. Definitely got to practice my Spanish, which is something that I'm not super fluent in. And it was fun. I enjoyed myself a lot, and we're already planning our next trip back. But I'm also trying to convince her to go north of the border at some point. So we definitely have been bitten by the travel bug after that trip.
Well, don't come in the winter.
No, no. Texans can't last their own winters, let alone Canadian winters. I saw the people shoveling snow up in Buffalo, and I was like, I could never live up there.
Oh,
I
the
could.
snow where we are is higher than it's higher than Jensen's height.
No
So
thanks.
yeah.
No thanks. See, at that point, that becomes a health risk. Like, it's very possible
Oh,
to drown in snow. I'll tell you what. So no, I don't think I could survive that. Like, we got an inch and a half, literally inch and a half of snow, and then the roads iced over, and our school system is shutting down for 2 days this week. That's how little Texans can handle the cold conditions. You give us a half an inch of ice and another inch of snow, and our world shuts down for 2 or 3 days.
well, we were down today, but I have no doubt that that will not be the case tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I'm pretty sure I'm going to work tomorrow. Yeah.
for those of you that are tuning in now, this is a little bit of a new way for us to do things here on the what is it, the every other Monday that Zach's on. We run a Legacy of Westeros channel, which a lot of the people that tune in over there are not the same people that tune in over here.
Mhm.
So we figured two birds, one stone. We'll record content while sharing there with all you guys. Just want to say hi to Kenny and Byron and everybody else tuning in.
What up,
And
y'all?
we are trying to stream to Facebook at the same time as YouTube. It hadn't been working for a long time, but it seems to be working
Ooh,
again. So
ooh la la.
people find that beneficial. First up is going to be a House of the Dragon recording. Maybe we should just touch on the Matt Smith says House of the Dragon season 2 is to premiere in August, despite earlier reports suggesting a possible June or July premiere. Before moving on to the Emmys, and I have a link that you can pull up for the Emmys. If that sounds good, or I can pull up for the Emmys and you can walk us through it.
Yeah, I found like a Deadline article, I think, talking about all the different nominations and which
Oh, do you
which
want to send me that? I'll pull that one up instead.
things they won. It doesn't matter. Either or would work. Oh no, it wasn't Deadline. Deadline was talking about Millie Alcock. I actually went to the actual Emmys website that was talking about House of the Dragon, but I'll
Oh,
I'll send you.
Yeah, that'd be
I'll, I'll
great.
s- I'll I'll send you what I found. We can go off of those, or we can go off whatever you've got. It does not matter either way to me. I was just trying to prep myself, do a little homework before hopping on. But yeah, those are the ones that I found. But I'm cool reading anything. So thanks to y'all that are tuning in. And I guess since we're just past the top of the hour, we might as well go ahead and get started if you're good on your end, dude.
Yeah. I will get the intro going. And we'll act as if we were live over there.
Mm-hmm. I'm good. Let's do it.
Already having issues. 1 second. Sorry.
Ain't that always the way? Do 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 do. Chiefs Bills. Sorry, Pittsburgh. Wasn't your year. How bad was it?
Apparently, we're on Facebook now. I didn't think that was. I don't even remember setting this one up for Facebook, but there's a Facebook user.
Yeah, it's me. I found it.
Oh, what up, y'all? Okay.
It just says Facebook user.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I saw on the event that it said that you plan to go live. So I think when you hit live on StreamYard, it went ahead and went live on the event.
We are having some internet issues up here, so we'll do our best to work through them. Bad weather. What can you do?
Do what you got to do, bud. I get it. 31-17.
Here we go.
Man, that wasn't even a game.
Do you know what legacy means? It's what you pass down to your children and your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Legacy of Westeros on Fandom Empire. This is going to be what you might call a combo cast with some of the stuff that we do on that fandom show as well. So if you're a fan of Fandom Empire, just be sure to hit that like and subscribe button over on the Legacy of Westeros channel for all of your Westerosi needs. But there's going to be some other really cool conversations in the mix of it. Some stuff pertaining to DC and some stuff pertaining to Doctor Who somewhat loosely, if you know anything about the cast list of House of the Dragon. So all of that and more still to come here on this channel. I'm Zach, and I'm here with Sean, back for the first time in a while. I don't think we've been able to chat it up since the holidays, dude, and I'm excited to be back behind the mic, and I'm excited to be chatting with you about stuff from the world of Westeros.
You know, I was so worried about how long it was going to take to get to the second season of House of the Dragon. That you realize life happens, the holidays come and go, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, regardless if it comes in June, July, or August, we're getting a new House of the Dragon season this year. That's exciting. It goes to show time goes by maybe just a bit too fast.
Well, that is part of what we're going to be talking about, whether it's on this video or another one, but we're going to be discussing when that season is actually supposed to be happening. And then we're going to be talking about the Emmys, which were recently announced at the time of the recording of this video, among some other really cool discussion topics. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. But let's go ahead and dive right into some of the stuff that we have on the docket. One of the first ones right off of the bat would be a recap of those Emmy Awards. And the Emmys themselves kind of showed what House of the Dragon had been nominated for, amongst also some of the things that they were actually the winners of. And I think I just want to preface this by saying they probably should have been nominated for a lot more than just 8 things. But the fact that they had 8 nominations and a win in their very first season, I think is a testament to the amount of detail that was put into the production of this series and how it's probably only going to get better from here. I mean, you take a look at what is this outstanding production design for a narrative period or fantasy program, outstanding cinematography, outstanding period and or character makeup that is non-prosthetic, outstanding prosthetic makeup. They had both categories. Outstanding drama series they were nominated for, outstanding sound editing for a comedy or drama, outstanding visual effects in a season or movie, and then finally their win that they had was listed at the very bottom: outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes, specifically for the episode The Heirs of the Dragon. But I feel like this entire series is worth the praise for all of these different categories, and it's really insightful to see where they focus their attention and what actually grabbed the attention of the voters, because this particular win is really great to see. But I stand by my assessment from a moment ago saying that there were so many other things they could have been nominated for and so many other things that they could have won, that when it comes to future seasons, I bet we see 12 nominations for season 2. I bet we see, more than one win in seasons 2, 3, 4. This series is laying a fantastic foundation that is setting itself up for long-term success.
I won't lie, I'm I'm a little lost. So the Emmys already happened, as in like earlier today?
They happened last week, I believe, because Nick Offerman won his Emmy for guest actor on The Last of Us. So all of the Emmys have been announced and won. And Last of Us was definitely nominated and won a lot. But House of the Dragon was a winner for fantasy and sci-fi costumes, but they were nominated for a total of 8. But Last of Us, from what I understand, cleaned up in a lot of different categories. So there was definitely some tough competition in 2023, but that doesn't mean it's going to be that case every year, and it doesn't mean that The Last of Us is going to clean up every year either.
The one thing I found impressive when reading the best drama nominees is 4 of them were HBO properties. 4 of them. That is fucking wild. It's just insane to have 4 nominations in the same year for best dramatic series. Like, you're lucky if you have 1.
Right.
2, you're over the moon. 4?
Right.
I'm guessing an HBO show won as well. I'm guessing it was The Last of Us.
So The Last of Us was nominated for 24, says the Emmys website, and they came away with 8 wins. So, I mean, it's fantastic to see all of the awards and nominations that House of the Dragon received, but you're right, HBO is just on fire with everything that it's doing right now, because for you to be competing with yourself, essentially, HBO's competing with HBO for some of these visual effects and drama series and stuff like that. Like, they are definitely cream of the crop right now, which is really cool to see. Considering there was probably an extended period of what you might consider a hiatus for HBO programming, or there wasn't much competing with Game of Thrones itself from like 2013 through 2018 or so, 2017. There was a very strong period there where it was pretty much dominated by Westeros, and so I'm happy for The Last of Us. I thought it was a really fantastic show, and I definitely think Nick Offerman deserves the acclaim that he received. But there were definitely a lot of really great things from House of the Dragon as well. The episode Infected won the Emmy for outstanding prosthetic makeup. I'm trying to see what else was a winner. Trying to see. Offerman won. I'm trying to see where some of the other winners are. Outstanding guest actress in a drama series with Storm Reed as Riley. I'm trying to see. Man, there's a lot to scroll through. Outstanding picture editing for the episode Endure and Survive. Outstanding sound editing for a comedy or drama series in the episode When You're Lost in the Darkness. Outstanding sound mixing for When You're Lost in the Darkness as well. So, I mean, like I said, 24, I think 31 nominations? 24 nominations and 31 photos. But to have 24 noms and 8 wins, you're basically winning 1 out of every 3 awards that you're getting nominated for. So congrats to them, obviously, but like I said, a very, very solid foundation for House of the Dragon that's going to set it up for what I consider long-term success. Eventually, I think people are going to get desensitized to the stuff that The Last of Us is producing, and I don't think Last of Us has quite the long-term possibilities that House of the Dragon does. So, yeah, they may have cleaned up this year, but I don't think that'll be the case every year.
It's wild to think, I've not rewatched House of the Dragon yet. I keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and I think we're going to do it soon. But from what I remember of that show, I remember the quality being as good as you could possibly expect out of a TV show. And
absolutely, no question.
The Last of Us had 3 times the amount of Emmy nominations is just nuts. It's insane. HBO is swimming with riches. I believe we have one more thing to get to in this recording, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, we do. We do indeed. It's just the ties to Doctor Who that I alluded to a moment ago, being Matt Smith, obviously, as the 11th Doctor. He is now winning a lot of fan acclaim, critical acclaim for his portrayal as Damon. And so during some of their press junkets, some of their discussions about season 2 to get people excited for it, he essentially confirmed that while the filming and production is going probably a little bit ahead of schedule, considering the strike that happened back here in the States, they were not affected by it. Some, including us, were speculating that maybe we could see it happening in April or July around that time for the release of season 2, but Smith confirmed that they are taking their time, and we're looking at closer to August for a release of season 2 of House of the Dragon. And personally, being an August baby, I'm pretty excited by that. I look forward to the possibility of getting to watch some House of the Dragon on my birthday or around my birthday. But I know that for the deep fans that have been waiting for almost 2 years already, waiting another few months could be construed as bad news, but I don't know. How do you feel about it being pushed to the end of the summer instead of coming out of the beginning, man?
I think more often than not, I'd be the first person to sit here and say, hey, the sooner the better. I can't wait to see more of this show. But it's already 2024, and it's like, you know what? We're already halfway through January. So if we get this thing late June, early July, or the end of August, I'm ready for it. Honestly, take the extra time, polish things up even more.
Right.
Get it as good as you possibly can. You don't want to be just as good as season 1. You want to one up yourself. That's what Game of Thrones managed to do.
Yep.
Over time, for at least a period of time. And it built the fan base up even more and more.
Right. And I think that's where you and I are very much on the same page, is the notion that it's a matter of 2 or 3 months after fans have been waiting for 20 plus for something to happen. And so I don't see 2 or 3 months as that big of a deal. But in production perspective, that gives you extra time to fine-tune some of your pyrotechnics. That gives you some extra time to fine-tune the CGI of the dragons in certain battle sequences. That gives you the opportunity to do any DNR that you might need to do after the fact. Like, those extra few weeks are separates you from goodness to greatness. And I think it's that time that's going to be spent and well invested to create those opportunities for even more Emmy nominations. I think those two go hand in hand, honestly. When it comes to the production, when it goes to the CGI, the design, whatever, the music, the sound editing, all of those things are things that you do in those extra couple of months of post-production. And so if that is the time that House of the Dragon needs to improve on itself, like you said, Game of Thrones usually does, and if it's that type of time that could get it even more Emmy nominations than what it got in its first season's run, then I'm all for it. And, you know, the fact that it's going to be happening on my birthday month is just a plus. So I'm in favor of it. I'm curious what the fans' perspectives are on it. Let us know in the chat. Let us know here on social media what you think of, you know, pushing it back by a couple of months, and what you think of these Emmy nominations and their one win that they got, and how they can build on it for next season. But I think that's going to do it for this particular episode of The Legacy of Westeros. Still a lot more still to come here on this channel and on Phantom Empire, so be sure to like this video, hit subscribe, do all those great things that keep you engaged with what we're doing here on this channel. We appreciate you being a part of what we do, and we will see you all very soon.
All right, one in the can.
1 out of 3.
Yep, and this next one will be short.
Alrighty. Kind of need my mic for that, don't I?
Just throwing the mic.
I'm dropping the mic. I'm not even dropping. I'm straight up throwing it.
Let me at least have the article ready to go here.
Oh, I see. It shows up on this saying Facebook user, what up, y'all? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was me. Chameleon. All right, are we playing music again for this one too? Doing the intro, or are we just diving straight in?
Cool. We'll do the intro.
Alrighty.
Do you know what legacy means? It's what you pass down to your children and your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone.
Hey everybody, this is The Legacy of Westeros. I'm Zach, here with Sean, talking about anything and everything going on in the world of Westeros, particularly pertaining to the hit show that won an Emmy, the great House of the Dragon. They were nominated for 8, they won 1, and that's something that we talk about on a previous video here on the channel. Be sure to go and check that out, and be sure to hit like and subscribe for this one as well, as we dive into a particularly interesting report that pertains to what I would call a fan favorite member of the cast from Season 1 that we still don't know if we're going to see very much of in Season 2, if at all. I'm hoping that we do, but it's also very possible that she could end up being rather busy. Sean, you and I recently discovered that one Millie Alcock is among 3 different names, according to Deadline, that are in contention to be a part of the new DC universe under James Gunn, along with Emilia Jones and Meg Donnelly. Those are some of the names that have been reported to be screen testing for the role of Supergirl. What do you make of that, and do you think she would fit the part based on what we saw on House of the Dragon?
Well, I thought she was incredible in House of the Dragon. We didn't get to, spend too much time with her. I think we got 5 episodes with her, and then the time jump happened. was 5 or 6, something like that. Maybe it was 4 now, but I thought Millie's performance in House of the Dragon was really fantastic, and I too was hoping to see some sort of flashback that would allow them to go back to the younger Rhaenyra and Alicent in season 2, but it doesn't sound like they have that in store. Sounds like they just want to stay with the current timeline and go forward. Hey, I'll give Millie this: if she doesn't get to be in House of the Dragon anymore, she certainly left it with an impression. And I think she'd make a fine Supergirl. But I also know Meg Donnelly pretty well from the Winchesters, and I think she would be just as good.
Well, what's interesting is when you look at just their faces, and then you take a look at some of the previous portrayals of Supergirl, and you see some of the comics and such, there are definitely resemblances. And at that point, it just comes down to presence. And like you said, Donnelly definitely has some of that presence, and I believe that she also has some previous experience doing the voice of Supergirl on animated films, is what this Deadline report says. She's been a part of Legion of Superheroes and Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. So Donnelly, I feel like, definitely has a bit of a leg up in certain respects, but just like you said, based on the limited time that we got with Millie Alcock on this show, she stole so many scenes. Like, when she was on the screen, her presence was commanding. You wanted to see what she was going to say and do next. And I think that's like the true mark of a quote-unquote super actor, if you will, pardon the pun, is the ability to command presence with what you've been given. And I think James Gunn is one of those people that can really, really give you commanding scenes and make what you do important and make a difference. And so even though someone like Donnelly may have experience doing the voice of Supergirl, I think there is still a bit of an inside track for somebody like Jones or Alcock to be able to make the most of their screen presence as a character like Supergirl.
I don't know much about Emilia Jones, and I think that's the dark horse in this. Is I think Millie Alcock would be a fantastic pick. Same with Meg Donnelly. Emilia Jones looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if she's from Riverdale. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but
Jones, according to the Deadline article, was a part of Paolo Sorrentino's youth. And the Best Picture winner from Apple, the movie Coda, as well as the Netflix series Lock and Key. Those are some of her highlights.
Yeah, I can't really comment on her because I haven't seen anything, but it certainly seems like they're considering some incredible talent for the second season of, pardon me, not the second season of Supernatural. Well, I'm way off. Facebook things throw me off, and I can't avoid having it there because that's how the article is up. But for Supergirl and James Gunn's incarnation of the DCU, or the second coming of the DCU, depending on how you want to refer to it as, there's 3 talented options, it appears, and I think Millie Alcock would be a fantastic pick. I think I'd prefer her personally, but it depends what.
Sure. Sure. When James Gunn first announced the movie titled Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is what the Deadline article says about midway down, he said at the time that our series, we see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, who was raised on a rock, a chip off Krypton, and watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life. And then she came to Earth when she was a young girl. She's much more hardcore. She's not exactly the Supergirl that we're used to seeing. So, based on that description from Gunn, I think Alcock definitely has the inside track because she's been a part of a very traumatic and dramatic series like House of the Dragon that deals with a lot of familial death, that deals with a lot of familial drama, that deals with a lot of high expectations for yourself, placed on yourself, or that's been placed on you by somebody else. I personally haven't seen Coda. Obviously, it was a Best Picture winner. It's a great film, just cinema wise, from what I understand. But I do see Jones as kind of an outsider compared to Donnelly and Alcock. But that is just my personal opinion. We'll have to wait and see. And we want to see what you all say in the comments as well. Let us know what you think about these particular people being a part of the screen testing for the new Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film. Obviously, the ties to the world of Westeros make us believe that Alcock could be a serious contender, but we want to know what you think. So leave us a comment, like and subscribe to this video and this channel. Let us know what your thoughts are. Follow us on our social media pages that are part of our lower thirds here on the screen and also available in the descriptions. But that's going to do it for this discussion of the Legacy of Westeros. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all again next time right here on the Legacy of Westeros.
Yeah, I didn't know how much I'm cutting out. There's going to be nothing I can do about it. So
No, it's all right. I don't mind. I don't mind carrying and closing things out and stuff if I need to, and so that's not a huge deal. I didn't want to drag it on in case something else came up, so I just went ahead and shut it down so we could move on to the next thing. I know we got a lot on our plates. I see a couple of people are still with us, but not a huge deal because a lot of this is going to be stuff that gets posted after the fact anyways. So that's where the real tuning in comes from, which is fine. I'm very used to that. Sometimes it's just Shinder on IPC. Nobody else with us.
I don't know how you want to introduce the next one, the Winds of Winter discussion, but I'd love to go over all the points and simply talk about when or if we will ever see it. And, I know some people think Game of Thrones and Westeros fans overreact to, why we haven't gotten it yet. But then you see this image from Screen Rant and it's like, can you blame them?
Yep.
But we can do that.
Yep. Well, what you've got is the abbreviated timeline. I found the article that's associated with it. I don't know if you want to pull that up. I think it's probably easier to just leave it on that image that you've got, and then I can pull stuff from the article if I need to, and let that supplement. But we're probably looking at like a less than. Oh, okay. I see 7 to 12 minutes. Yeah, I'll try to keep it as close to 7 to 10 if we can. Because awesome. it's just a single discussion, and some of these I don't know if we'll spend a whole lot of time on particular quotes or whatever, or maybe I'll bundle them. Like we'll discuss 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll discuss 4, 5, and 6. That kind of thing. And then the most recent one was from last year in 2023. So I'll probably break it up into like 4 sections. We'll do 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9, and then round it out with 10 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to do it.
Okay. But yeah, I've got it. I've got the article. I'm good whenever you are.
Do you know what legacy means? It's what you pass down to your children and your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You are tuning in to the Legacy of Westeros, and we are bringing a voice to disgruntled fans from all over Westerosi lore that have been grumbling for what is coming up on 13 years now, trying to figure out when and if we are going to get any further updates or any further release on George R.R. Martin's The Winds of Winter. Ever since Game of Thrones started back in 2011, we have gotten a whole bunch of different comments and signals that have come from the man himself, and I'm here with Sean to try to talk all about it. Sean, we have covered Game of Thrones for years on various different podcasts, on various different platforms and channels, and the Winds of Winter have always been a hot button issue, talking about when that next book is going to be released. Obviously, that's the source material that Benioff and Weiss did not get to pull from when they were concluding the original Game of Thrones TV show, which led to a lot of critical and fan disdain rather than acclaim. And so it's kind of a important piece that people have been clamoring for on social media and just online period for years. And based on this image from Screen Rant, it seems like we're making a little bit of progress, and yet at the same time, over the course of a decade of different comments, maybe we haven't gotten as much progress as we thought.
You know, I'm someone who hasn't read all the books. You know, I've always wanted to, man, whether it's reading them or listening to the audiobook versions.
Right.
I want to go through the ones that already exist. I've been through the first book, but never the rest. So I don't have that, oh my God, this thing needs to come out, I can't live without it. But the problem is you almost have like two different groups of fans who are lobbying for this book. You have the people that read through all the books to this point and have been waiting eons for it. You know, the wait for this is probably getting as bad as music fans will remember this one. Guns N' Roses Chinese Democracy was coming out every year for like a decade until it finally did. And no one ever thought that album was going to come out, and it did. And I think that album actually turned out pretty good. So if Winds of Winter turns out pretty good, then great. But like, I would not have any expectations on seeing this thing. I also think it's a different beast altogether, man, with the fact that Game of Thrones ended. And that's where you almost get this second now fan base, right or wrong, that want this or these books. Because remember, Winds of Winter isn't supposed to be it.
Right.
And you get this second side of the fan base who want a different ending than what they got in the TV series. So they hope to get that in the books.
Right. There's definitely the book fans that just want it for literary purposes, and then there's the series fans that want it to end differently. And I believe there was a quote at some point from Martin that said that what he writes is going to be different than what you see on the television screen. So it's definitely very likely that that's how it's going to play out. Unfortunately, it's the timeline that doesn't seem to be playing out the way a lot of people hoped. And we're going to try to break down this image from Screen Rant to the best of our abilities, and we're just going to kind of sectionalize it and kind of break it down and look at the similarities of comments that he has made over the years versus things that may be a little contrasting, starting with all the way back in a quote from 2011 where he just says, "I'm not going to say." And then point number 2 in 2012, "I really look forward to publishing it in 2014. But then 2015 rolls around, after 2014, obviously, and he says, "I still have a lot of pages left to write." Obviously, he had a very big hand in what was going on with the TV show itself. There was a lot of other stuff that was going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about. Fire and Blood was also in the works that we really didn't know back in 2011 all that well. So there were a lot of moving parts, but it's still interesting to see that in the early days of these quotes, he thought he would have it out almost a decade ago, and here we are in 2024, and it still hasn't come out yet. So it's interesting to see where the origins of the thought process was for Winds of Winter versus where we're at now.
It's so hard, man, because like, you look at it and we're already, at the 10-year point from when he thought it was going to be out. And that's not even where these quotes started. So it's like, I don't know. If you're hoping to ever see this thing, I got to be, I'm not trying to rain on people's parade. I would love to have it. I would go buy a physical copy of it opening day just to be part of that event. But I don't know, Zach. Like, you got to be drinking some serious Westeros Kool-Aid to have any expectations of this thing coming out anytime soon.
I have thoughts on that, and I will save those thoughts for the very end of this video. This is a theory that I've had on other discussions about the Winds of Winter, and I'm starting to believe it more and more. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so that you can hear all of our thoughts and discussions. But I'll give my final thoughts towards the very end there. Looking at bullet points 4 through 6 here in the middle, Martin continues in 2015 to say, anything I can do to get this done. But then the next year he says the deadlines just stress me out. Apparently somebody's got pressure on him, the publishers or Benioff and Weiss or HBO or, somebody had pressures on him in 2016. He goes, the deadlines just stress me out. And then 2017 rolls around and he says, I think it will be out this year. So we first had looking forward to publishing in 2014. 2017, he says, I think it'll be out. Here we are in 2024. Still nothing.
At this point, it's hard to, I know, especially in 2024 now, where everything becomes, some form of tribalism or someone bullying somebody else online over something they like or something they support. I really do get, the hate that this guy gets towards not putting this thing out just because he's overpromised and delivered nothing to this point. I get it. He's super, super busy, but sometimes saying less is more.
Or just saying no comment. Like giving people any kind of false hope is just, it's kind of unfair at this point. And I'm not trying to rush genius. Obviously, he has built this into what could be considered a multimedia empire with books and TV shows and animated series that are in the works and so many different shows and podcasts and things that are speculating on it the way we are. Like, obviously, the man has done some amazing things with this world in his career. But then you take a look at more recent comments that he's made, and it gets even more conflicting. Take a look at bullet point number 7, I think is where we're at. Continuing comments that were made in 2017, he says, I do think you will have a Westeros book from me in 2018, maybe 2. A boy can dream. And then you further that timeline that Screen Rants presents to us, and he says, I still have a long way to go in 2020. Fast forward 2 years. Bear in mind, this is during COVID, when he's not allowed to really be out and about that much. He's not really supposed to be interacting with a whole lot of people, doing a whole bunch of press junkets, doing much of anything on any kind of a set. From this 2020 to 2022, he's supposed to be quarantined. What did people do during quarantine? They read, they wrote, they did their own content production. They figured out how to work from home if possible. There were all kinds of very, very creative people out there that were doing all kinds of things from the comfort of their home. And by 2022, 10, 11 years after the first comment in 2011, he says that he is 3/4 of the way done. At this point, it's just a WTF moment for me. Like, if I had 2 years where my literal job was to write a book, I think I'd be more than 3/4 of the way done after 2 years of quarantine. I think that's the quote that kind of makes me mad. What the hell are you doing if you're supposed to be quarantining during a global epidemic and you're not working on your book? It just, I don't know. That was the one that rubbed me the wrong way.
It's the next one that rubs me the wrong way. But I agree with everything you said there, dude. It's look, the world was shut down for basically 2 years, and you did not get this thing out. You did not get this thing close to being out. I'm telling everybody right now, he will never have more time than he did during that point.
Agreed.
To make as much progress on something. And that time has passed. Just let's get to 10.
Let's get to 10. Let's get it over with. The final bullet point here from Screen Rant says that he, quote, still has hundreds more pages to go, end quote. Some of these books do have like 700 plus pages, depending on the type of publication that you pick up, whether you get the larger copy or the smaller copy. Like some of these can be several hundred pages long, but the idea that he still has several hundred more pages to go as of 2023 is just kind of maddening. Like you said, that's the one that can really rub you the wrong way. Is the man back in 2012 said, I look forward to publishing it in 2 years. And now in 2023, he says there's still several hundred pages left. That's several chapters, more than several chapters, still left to go. And like you said, the time to really crunch down and get it done has passed. So unless the man is lying to us or teasing us or misdirecting us, and then it gets like a surprise publication release on like a random ass Thursday that nobody's expecting, like, unless it's something like that, he's just really, really, really fallen behind. And his work on House of the Dragon and his involvement in future projects with HBO is only going to hinder his ability to get this stuff done. So you're right. Now that we're out of the pandemic, more or less, like I won't say it's over, but we're clear of the worst of it is probably the safest way to put it. Now that we're through the worst of it, and he is back on set, he's back being an executive producer, more or less, he's going to have less time to be sitting down in his study working on his book or wherever it is that he does his creative process. And so for this to be his status update from 2011 to saying, I'm not going to say, to 2023 saying, still got hundreds of more pages to go, it's just, it makes you wonder when and if it's ever going to happen.
I think at this point, the safe money probably is that you will never see the Winds of Winter will never see the light of day. That is where I bet the excuse me. I don't think we will ever see the literature finish for the Song of Ice and Fire in terms of John and Danny's story on that front. That being said, still how do you still have a few hundred pages to go 12 years later? It's maddening in every way possible.
I don't know. My friend Steven Schinder has published 2 books. He's not published 1, he's published 2 in less of a time span than what Martin has been doing. And if you're interested in tuning into Standalones and Stepping Stones franchise, you can find them on Amazon. Very, very fun stories if you get the time to dive into them. And I find it super interesting. I know that it's not Game of Thrones. I'm not trying to compare, my friends to an epic classic. That's not fair to either one of them. But the fact that there are people out there that are pumping out material at a very regular pace while doing other things, like that's not Steven's primary job. He has other things that he's doing. You and I both have other things that we're doing, other projects, other family matters to attend to, whatever. This is the man's job. This is what he gets paid to do. This is like his form of employment. This is what pays his bills, essentially, is working on this one book that he's still not done with yet. And so now I believe the time has come for me to give my prediction, if that's all right with you. My assumption, my assertion has always been, for the last, I want to say 3, 4, 5 years maybe, depending on how far back into the archives of previous shows we want to dive into. I believe that because of how toxic the reaction was to the final season of Game of Thrones, Martin does not want to expose himself to that kind of vitriol from the online community when he publishes Winds of Winter and whatever comes after it. He does not want to be a part of whatever kind of in-depth interrogation of his prose that the internet may try to subject him to. He doesn't want to be a part of it. He doesn't want to have the critics picking it apart piece by piece. And that's why he's been delaying it so much, is he doesn't want it to flop, more or less. He is coasting on so much previous success that everything hinges on this next book or two. And so therefore, my belief is that this man does not intend to publish his books during his lifetime. It is my belief that he has actually finished Winds of Winter and has not told us such, and that he may even be working on whatever comes after it. He may be finishing the entire franchise behind the scenes, for all we know. But my belief is that he will publish everything and round out the story posthumously. We will not get to subjugate him to criticism because he will be dead. I think he's got it worked out where the story will be finished and it'll be available for people to read, but he won't be around to listen to the criticism. I think we do not finish the story of Game of Thrones in its literature form during George R.R. Martin's lifetime. My belief, and I will stand by this belief with whatever conversation I have with anybody moving forward, is that nothing from his work will get published until posthumously.
In 2015, even 2016, people might call it radical or over the top. You go through the timeline of events that we have just gone through, and I don't see how most people couldn't come to that as a logical conclusion. I think it's very likely, to be honest. I will say this though. Let's just say I'm going to just pick a random date. Okay, let's do December 24th, 2025. Christmas Eve, he publishes The Winds of Winter. There's no way this thing is ever going to live up to the expectations of all the years and all the talk behind it, and then also the end of the TV show. And what are we waiting on exactly? Is this just going to be, it's not necessarily a normal size book, but a normal size Song of Ice and Fire book where it's, that 500 to 700 page length? Are we going to is he going to randomly release this book trilogy all on one day? And it's The Winds of Winter Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, and it's 2,000 pages of new material. I'm not saying that condones years of misleading and 13 or 14 years of it's coming, it's here, it's going to be here, and no, it's not here. I'm years away still. I'm not saying that condones it, but I will say I bet you the internet would immediately start talking more positively about it if there was an ironclad release date and they did find out, hey, it's not just one book, but rather 2 or 3 books. And with all the time that's been put into it, I wouldn't necessarily rule out the idea of it being a 2-book thing. 3 books, me going a little too far, but.
Well, okay, if we take a look at 2022's quote saying that he is 3/4 of the way done, it took him 11 years to say that he's 3/4 of the way done. If we follow that progression mathematically, then that means that this particular book he's working on would take him 14 and a half years to finish. If we're actually saying that this is all one book. And so if we're looking at 14 and a half years from 2011 when he made his first not going to say comment, or even 2012, let's go off of the bullet point number 2 where he says, I look forward to publishing it in 2014. He says that in 2012. If we add 14 and a half years from when he is actually projecting to publish things, when he is actually making his speculations, and then also talking about 3/4 of the way done as of 2022, then it's entirely possible that we may not see this until mid-2026, just based on the mathematics of it. I still don't believe that that's happening. But if we're talking about trying to project a release date, we're looking at some point in 2026 at the soonest. And I still don't know if I believe that. So I'm really curious what the people of Westeros and what the fans of this franchise, what the fans of the books have to say. Be sure to hit like and subscribe to this video. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments section. There's a lot of different places you can follow us on social media to let us know personally, so check out the description for all of that as well. But this is what Screen Rant was able to collect. These are what our thoughts are on the updates for Winds of Winter and what we can expect. But the real question is, what do you think and what do you expect? Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of The Legacy of Westeros, and we will see you right here for our next Westerosi adventure. Until then, hope you all stay safe and don't get burned.
And for those of you that have been coming in and out throughout the show, thanks for popping by. I know this is a bit of a different way of doing things. We only have a few more minutes here. So, Zach, I won't pull up any articles or anything like that, but I just want to ask you, obviously, with the news of Star Wars and Jon Favreau directing a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which, trades seem to believe is the first of two movies, the second being Filoni's Mandoverse movie to tie in with it. The Rey movie got backed up in the process. Obviously, there was a bunch of online backlash over various things. Some of it warranted, a lot of it definitely not, and a lot of hate spreading and all that stuff. And I just got to ask, man, how legitimate do you think the Mandalorian Grogu movie is in terms of the likelihood of it coming out? Because it seems like, every time we want to get excited for something Star Wars, I'm not saying I'm not excited about Mando on the big screen because I think it'd be a lot of fun, but every time we get excited for something Star Wars, someone's fired, this project's canceled, that person's leaving. Where are you at with it, man? Where are you with the Star Wars cinematic side of things before we go?
I really was pretty disappointed with most of what we've gotten from Disney Star Wars. I'm not going to lie. I've enjoyed a lot of installments since then, since the movies. Mando definitely being the biggest contributing factor to that. And I think it's getting better. I've enjoyed the final season of the Clone Wars. I enjoyed the first couple of seasons of the Bad Batch. Definitely had its moments, did the Book of Boba Fett. So there are pieces of the puzzle that I feel like are improving. Really enjoyed Ahsoka. So I think there are pieces of the puzzle that are improving. I think there are things that are getting better. But I always have had this belief since probably, I want to say 2017, 2018, where I'll just believe it when I see it. And I'll enjoy it for what it is. And then I will criticize it for what it also is, not what it is not. My biggest problem with The Last Jedi was that it wasn't what I speculated it to be, what I believed it would be. And I've come to enjoy certain aspects of it since then, but I've also come to really, really criticize things that it did for what it is from a cinema perspective. So all that to say, I'm just gonna wait and see. I'm gonna wait and see what it is. I'm gonna embrace it for what it is. I'm going to dissect it for what it is and what it is not, and go from there. And if things happen to Rey, if it happens to Favreau, if it happens to Filoni, what have you, I don't see either of them leaving those projects. I don't see either of them getting fired or dismissed. In fact, Filoni recently got a new title. He's been quote unquote promoted. So if there was ever a place for stability to exist in the galaxy far, far away, it would be with these directors and writers and with this particular franchise. Mandalorian is probably the best and most stable thing to happen to Star Wars since Disney bought them out. And I definitely think it could be a fun ride, and I think the way that they close things up in Season 3 sets it up for a brand new adventure that can be completely standalone and cinematic in nature. And I look forward to seeing Star Wars on the big screen again. I look forward to seeing these characters again, but I'm not going to greatly anticipate it or over speculate it or set up too much hype or expectations for it either, because I've done that in the past and Star Wars kind of let me down. So fewer expectations, fewer hopes, fewer speculations from me. I'll just roll with the punches as they come, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think Star Wars: The Acolyte will have a lot of people talking this year by the sounds of it. Sounds like Disney's putting a lot of eggs in that basket, and that's going to be a heavy marketing thing for them. And then I know they want to get in Skeleton Crew later on. But in terms of the movies, uh, I, like you've been a little bit disappointed by some of what's come. Um, I just want to go with my kids and see a new Star Wars movie in theaters. I don't think that's
Yeah.
asking a ton. I just wanted to see a new Star Wars movie in
Yeah.
theaters. So,
Yeah,
whatever
I
we
get that.
get, I want to see one.
I will say this. I just finished watching Marvel's Echo on Disney Plus, and it feels very, very much in the vein of the Netflix shows. It's not as gory. It doesn't have as much cursing as something like Daredevil, but it is probably the closest thing to Daredevil that we have gotten since the Netflix series. So Disney is inching closer to approving more mature content in their comics and fantasy franchises. And I think that bodes well for franchises like Star Wars to be able to toe the line and maybe create some TV-14 TV shows, to be able to create some truly authentic programming that can go to the screens. And so Echo gave me hope. I'm not saying it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio transferring to the galaxy far, far away, but I liked what I saw, and I like where things could go if this is the way that Disney's going to be creating programming moving forward.
One can hope. I trust Dave Filoni, and I like a lot of what's come out recently. I just, stop promising things you can't deliver on, and you'll be better off for it, is my opinion.
Yep.
I think that's going to do it for us in that fandom show, though. The Legacy of Halloween YouTube channel is up and running. You can find content over there. We have Tonight in Haddonfield. Next, we have The Legacy. You might get what we're doing there with the whole Legacy branding and all that. The Legacy of Smallville coming later this month. It will be the first time that Jade and I have done an official podcast together on a reoccurring basis. And we both have a passion for that show, specifically me, and actually runs deep in my family for that matter. My son loves it. My brother loves it. So you might see some family members on that show as we get to it later this month. So check that out. Zach, where can everybody find you at, man?
Just try to keep up with Zach the Voice as best as you can. I've got some stuff in the works coming in late February, and just biding my time until then. So Zach the Voice for IPC, for my local play-by-play stuff, for links to stuff like Legacy of Westeros and other things here on Phantom Empire. Those are kind of all the big things, but any of the major stuff I'm appearing on, you'll find it on my socials at Zach the Voice. So follow that to find all the other stuff.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this. And if you haven't yet, like the video, comment down below, share it around, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in a few minutes over on Tonight in Haddonfield.